When was you first kiss? I was 12 at summer camp in Florida. Very cheerful and mischievous red-headed girl in my age group. Said I was too cute to have never been kissed, and she laughed when my face turned red after she gave me a nice little kiss on the lips. Also the reason I apparently have a crushing weakness for redheads now. Thanks, Sarah. Let's just say late teen years. It was weird, like an awkward tennis match. The guy kissed me briefly, then quickly pulled back to gauge my reaction. I saw stars, so I grabbed him, pressed myself up against him, and kissed him far more aggressively. He was so startled he pulled back and just stared at me a second, which seemed to last an eternity in my mind because I was sure I had somehow misread the situation. Then he grabbed me really aggressively, pushed me against the wall, and we started seriously making out. Sophomore year of college with my first GF. I was 20, she was 19, and we kissed lying in a hammock at like 1 a.m. Senior year with my first GF. She dropped me off at my house after a long afternoon of hanging out and holding hands. Hey, we were young. We took it slow. We both felt it was coming and saw it in each other's eyes. I went in, and so did she. We bonked heads. The second try was a success. Fireworks. We stayed out there for a while before I went back inside my house. Definitely got better by the end of the night. Still remember the night air, her truck, her perfume, and the Tim McGraw song Something Like That, which coincidentally describes how it feels to remember this. I was 19. Just entered in prep school for engineering degree. The introduction in the student life with all the parties was fantastic. I met a girl from another country, and it was totally obvious I was into a deep crush at the first met. We spent some times together and with all the new friends doing activities as well. One night after a party, we went to my room and we discussed for a long time. I finally took my chance. Approached her step by step. It probably looked very funny now. I was so stressed, and I kissed her gently after getting her implicit authorization I saw in her eyes. First time. It was amazing. My senior year in high school. We knew we were both in the same club at school, but never talked, and we officially met at a convention. Then we started talking, and it progressed to us being more closer. We both walked out of the anime club, and he decided to stick around while I waited for my ride. We talked, and then he confessed his feelings. I was shocked, and he kissed me. Now our anniversary is coming soon, on Halloween. Summer between my freshman and sophomore year in high school, Madrid, Spain. My Spanish teacher took a group of kids to Spain for a trip, and one night we learned about sangria. Amy and I were flirting all night. We both knew it was happening. While we both stumbled up the stairs, we bumped into each other's lips. It was nice. She ended up in my bedroom that night, and I didn't have the guts to make another move. When I was in high school, in a night over with my group mates. My group mates and I have a project that we need to finish, and whilst doing the project we happened to talk ABT sleepovers or something. Everyone was on board, and so was my GF at that time. As a person who's very innocent and very easy to be swayed, followed them without thinking of the hell that is waiting for me after that day. So the sleepover happened, and my GF and I slept at the bed, while my group mates slept next to us, which is not even an inch away. Around 12 midnight when everyone's sleeping, I notice that my GF is still awake and kinda tense hot. At that time, I ask her why and ask if she's sick or something. She just look at me eye to eye. We stare at each other for at least a minute or two, and then the deed happened. We peck each other's cheeks and forehead and smiled at each other. And then after that, it became a full-blown making out and feeling each other's warmth. We didn't have sex since there's a lot of people at that room, and it's already 5 a.m. in the morning. After that happy time, hell break through. When I went back home, my mother is furious and told me to leave the house. That's the first time I saw my mom got angry like crazy. She told me that I'm very impulsive, and I didn't even think that something may happen with me and my GF if we did a sleepover, which I realized that she's FKing right, and so on and so forth. After that, my GF and I always fight with the smallest thing, and then eventually broke up. I was kinda happy that we did, since I kinda grew from that relationship and became the man who I am today. I was 18. She was almost engaged and worked at a bar. I somewhat knew her from before, since she was girlfriend of my best friend's ex-brother. I also made it known months prior, jokingly, that I think she is an absolute bombshell. So XX dragged me in this bar one night for a drink or two, and as soon as we entered, she was a bit tipsy, pointed to me and said with a smile, "Tonight I am going to fuck you." My anxiety was through the roof, and she was also around 7 years older than me, absolute cutie, and girlfriend of my best friend's brother. XX just laughed and said, "Don't mind her. She is just wasted." Of course, minutes later when I left to take a leak, she came into the toilet hallway and barred me from leaving while I was drying my hands. She said, "Where are you going?" Of course, we both leaned in passionately and proceeded to make out wildly. It was the best kiss ever. When we came back to XX, we drank more, and whenever I wanted to kiss, I said, "I'm going to the toilet, wink, wink." We then repeated this process a couple of times. I did try to get into her panties. She did stroke my for a second, but sex was of the table, unfortunately. And after loads of bottles of wine, I started to French kiss her in the bar, while XX was there watching. To my surprise, he didn't mind it at all. I was 16 at a party, and a random drunk girl started kissing me. I tried to find out her contact info the next day because I didn't think of asking it at the time. I managed to get her number eventually, but she never responded to my text. I thought about her and that kiss for like a year, but I'm guessing she was too drunk to remember it. 16. It was the last day of camp and we had a party on the roof. Some girls started playing Spin the Bottle. I was passing by and the bottle pointed at me. I kissed a girl, and then we continued playing and I kissed 4 more. After that, 2 more girls realized that we hadn't kissed and gave me a kiss each. I went from never kissing a girl in my life to kissing 7 and almost hooking up with 1 in one night. I was 22. Just got out the friend zone with my best friend of 3 years. Took a chance and asked her out, and she was more excited than I was. We were both broke, but I took her out to a seafood restaurant on the water. She got the cheapest things on the menu thinking I might pay, but still tried to split when the bill came. It was cold on the walk back to the train, so I gave her my jacket. She was wearing heels, she never does, and was super uncomfortable, so I literally swept her off her feet for the rest of the walk. We laughed about it until the train came. It was crowded, and she held on to me the whole ride. We didn't say much, just looked at each other and smiled for a few minutes every now and then. I walked her back to her dorm, and when we got there, her roommates and her friends were in her room, so we sat on the couch for half an hour, just getting closer and closer together. Our faces touched, and eventually we rolled onto each other's lips. It was the driest, most uncomfortable kiss, as it was both of our first time. But we loved it. I don't think either of us was planning on it, but it just happened. And I was so happy I waited until then to have it with her. We dated for about a year until distance grew us apart. But dating has never felt that easy since. Best love I've ever had for sure. My girlfriend and I were not romantically involved at the time. We did, however, attend the same classes when we were younger and have the same birthday. Despite the kindness and support of all of our classmates who used to pair us up, neither of us ever shared our feelings with the other. When she asked, "How much longer?" on our 16th birthday, I replied that I couldn't take it any longer and started kissing her. Additionally, due to the rain on that day, the atmosphere resembled a scene from a film. I think I was 22. It was with this girl that I had been dating for a few weeks at the time. I was really into her. We were hanging out at this bar where her dad was in a pool league. We were watching and playing darts with each other. We'd had a few drinks. I might have been a little buzzed, or just high on being around her. IDK. Anyway, we headed back to her place. But she was really pushing my buttons and getting me flustered. I ended up missing our exit because she was distracting me too much. I realized we'd been driving a bit too long, and pulled into a random exit, and pulled into a parking lot to get my bearings and set up my GPS. She laid it on thick at this point, and I ended up asking her to be my girlfriend. She said yes. Then we started making out a bunch. I kept having to take breaks because I was laughing, gasping for air. Lol. Damn good time. We ended up staying together for a few more months, but she ended up moving away and cut things off with me. Damn shame. I really liked her. Very much the one that got away from me.